All right, y'all, what's going on? Welcome back to another Jab podcast. This is episode 85. My name is Combo Breaker 99.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Boxing P.
We back with y'all with another one. We about to close out the year with y'all with this last episode here. We want to do something a little different here. We ain't doing the same old, year-end review. Kind of want to put a little twist on it, man. I hit P, at the end of the last episode, I said, who do you think were your top 5 fighters of 2018? The thing with that, we kind of being a little lenient with it. It can be prospects, it can be contenders, it could be champions. Just somebody in the game that we felt was really, setting the bar high. Somebody that was that came in really focused. They came in with some solid wins, just made a statement. And, they basically just made us say, we want to see more of them next year, On that note, man, like I said, I got 5, but I might have a little more than 5, man. And, I got to put some of them together on the same tier, man. But no particular order on how this is. But, for number 5, I had to say Alexander Usyk. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a tie between him and Joey Spencer. I had them kind of share the number 5 spot. I know that Usyk, his credentials and his accomplishments are a little bit bigger, but I had to pick Usyk for one because, he won the Ali Trophy and he got the, that was the World Boxing Super Series. He became the undisputed champion. And, all the fights he took in 2018 were of significance. He had 3 big fights. Like I said, he won a vacant title and then he took on Murat Gassiev to wrap up the tournament. And after that, he got a big money fight in Tony Bellew. He scored it was a pretty dramatic knockout,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
It set up a big fight with AJ, a potential fight. He took this fight as a business move with Eddie Hearn to possibly move into a fight with AJ, man. So I had to go with him, man. What do you think about that, man?
Yeah, I definitely thought Usyk was definitely worth being acknowledged for what he accomplished this year. You know what I'm saying? And, I didn't really have it in a particular order, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I just definitely had Usyk in the mix because, like you said, he really did some impressive things this year. And one of the reasons I picked him too, Ant, is because he's not really a household name. And sometimes people might not know or might not think that just because you're not a household name doesn't mean you're not out doing profound things in your, with your career. And Usyk definitely is. He stringed together 3 very, very prominent wins this year, and his name is in the mix big time for next year. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely thought that he was one of the top fighters this year. It was a lot of good guys, but he was definitely one of the guys who deserve some mention.
One more reason I'll bring that up too is because we haven't really had a significant cruiserweight since Evander Holyfield, and he kind of put the eyes on the cruiserweight division once again, and we were just kind of oh man, this dude, he bringing something different to the table. And when you go back and look, he's not just a big, lumbering puncher, he's got kind of that speed of a light heavyweight and still the potential to move up to heavyweight,
Oh yeah. Yeah, nimble guy.
Yeah, very nimble, yeah. And good work ethic too. So I say I pick him because I think that from here going into 2019, like I said, he set himself up with the AJ fight. It might not be his first fight, but he might be fighting somebody at heavyweight. And just to see his style at heavyweight and how he'll transition, I think that's big,
Oh yeah. Yeah. And another thing, man, he has a really good personality too. You can catch him online. I mean, he's joking around, he's dancing, they got the meme with the Jim Carrey picture. So that makes a difference too when a guy, especially for a fighter, because everybody thinks a fighter is mean and always angry, and that's not really the case. This guy, he's dancing to techno music and he's cutting up, he's having a good time, but when it's time to work, he goes to work.
Yeah, man, for real. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing Usyk at heavyweight, man, and hopefully Usyk AJ fight, man. But sharing number 5 with him, like I said, of course, this is a up and comer. We got Joey Spencer. Joey Spencer, he fights at 154. He put himself on the map at age 18. Fought 5 times in 2018, all 5 knockouts. Now I know a lot of people are gonna say, might be a lack of competition, but he kind of fought his way into this position, with his business deals, and also, with the wins. The wins he's been putting out there have been highlight worthy. For his little highlight reel. He wants to make his way up the ladder. People are going to go back and play these fights and say, damn, he's knocking people out.
Right.
Of course, as the competition gets bigger, the knockouts might come harder, but right now we got eyes on it. What number did you have, Matt P?
Like I said, I didn't really have no chronological order for him particularly, but I definitely thought Joey Spencer, was another guy who was just on the right track this year, staying busy, stay winning, and TV. I mean, not that it's all about TV, but the TV is just, that's just so much more exposure, and when you're on TV, doing what you're supposed to do, it's more impactful than when you're not on TV doing what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So, I think that he's setting up himself for 2020, because he's fighting the guys that he's supposed to be fighting right now to me. And it's not like he's out there calling out big names. He's not barking. He's just like, yo, when they put somebody in front of me, I go and do what I'm supposed to do. And that's all you can really ask a guy who is climbing his way up the ladder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he definitely is, because going back, we saying, like, when you look at how many fights he's had, but you already seeing him on these big platforms, you're saying, wow, we got to keep an eye on this kid, because he's here for a reason.
Because if nothing else, if you just happen to be a casual fan and happen to be, watching TV, this is the 5th time I've heard this kid on TV this year. I've been this name,
see what he's about.
Yeah, this name sounds familiar. So even from that standpoint, it's just a good thing. When you're on TV and you're winning on TV, and that's the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on that note, and I kind of want to pop into one of my guys, because he's kind of like another prospect on the rise. The kid Joshua Gray Jr.
Yeah.
He fought 4 times this year. You know what I'm saying? Kind of in the same boat with Joey Spencer. No really, really big names, but just staying busy, staying on TV and winning. He does have a belt, and like we say, these guys are setting up for the future. 2019, 2020, to really step it up and see if they are amongst the elite. Doing in these weight classes or whatever. But I like the way these guys are moving at, because it's not, you can't move too fast, you can't move too slow, but these guys are staying busy. You know what I'm saying? And performing. People would judge the competition, but it's people that bigger names that are fighting this type of competition. You know what I'm saying? Too. So, you have to be fair about it. But like I said, Joshua Gray was another guy I had who I thought really, made some noise this year and caught my eye, and a guy I'll be looking out for, 2019, 2020 at.
Yeah, looking at his resume here, man, like you said, he fought 4 times last year. He went 4 times this year, and he fought 4 times last year. And, looking at the competition, these are guys he should be fighting, somebody 15-5, 16-7. So, he's getting a good look, different looks.
Yeah,
he's getting a good mix of fights, so.
Think about that. In the last 2 years, he's fought 8 times. I'm not sure how many of those times on TV, but he's been on TV quite a few times. But just still, in 2 years, to have 8 fights, it just shows his work ethic and he's staying busy. I like to see that. You had these young guys who are not staying busy, They're just not staying busy.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Some guys, we know the backstories with people trying to get, the fighters to face them. You know what I mean? It's not as easy as people may, think it is. But I just want to give a shout out to these guys for doing, what they're supposed to do. You know what I mean? I mean, Ryan Garcia, he's another guy kind of in that category. He wasn't as busy as these guys, but just another guy that's on TV and working his way up
and
the ladder.
The difference between Ryan and them is, he already kind of get that platform. So it's good to kind of talk about these guys because it's like people need to keep an eye on these guys because they working just as hard.
That's it. Because out of those three names, people probably know Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
But level wise, is no difference in those guys. I mean, to be honest, those guys might be a little bit better than Ryan, to be honest. But he already has that name and that platform where people know him. But it's other guys out here that blue collar guys that are just working hard. You know what I mean? So we definitely want to make sure that they get their props too, Ant. You know what I'm saying? Because like you say, the big difference is these guys been on TV. Ryan Garcia is on TV, but Ryan Garcia is still like on a bigger platform. You know what I'm saying?
Like his fight could be anybody, and it's still going to get the same.
It's still going to get the same
numbers. But with these guys like Greer, you actually have to analyze. We have to actually bring that to the forefront and say, hey, look, he's got this many fights this year, this many fights last year. And you look at his record, he's actually, like I said, fighting competition on his level, making a statement. Right. But without that platform, it gets a little harder, It
does. Absolutely.
But man, moving on to my number 4. My number 4, these two fighters, I'm moving up to mainstream a little bit. I had to give it to both of these guys, Canelo and Danny Jacobs. I moved Canelo down the list because I was doing it by ranking. I just moved him down because he did pop this year. I had to punish him for that, but I just had to. I had to put him on there because he did give us that rematch. Triple G, and he was finally able to beat Triple G. I know controversial still to people, but to finally beat that guy, hand him his first loss, I had to put him on there.
Absolutely.
And another reason too, 2-division world champion this year. He moved up 168. I know Rocky Fielding wasn't like the best, but as far as like the business move he made going to the zone, he made the biggest, like they say, the biggest move in boxing, next to Floyd. 11 fight deal, 5 year, 11 fight deal over 5 years for over $300 million. Right. So that right there just kind of makes you say, he's got his hands full for next year. What he did this year was a big statement, but now you really got to look at what he's going to do next year, in 2019, because like I said, out of these 11 fights, at least 5 of them got to be top middleweights,
I mean,
it got to be.
Yeah, we would hope so. We would hope so. I want to hop on Canelo a little bit too, I'm not a Canelo fan, but I got a ton of respect for him. Inside and really outside the ring. And I just want to bring that up too, because that's something I just kind of totally sidebar was the fact that he did get popped this year. I didn't really even factor that into the equation. I just solely based it on, getting those other belts from Triple G, you know what I'm saying? And going on to the Rocky Felton thing, picking up another strap at 168. And signing the zone deal and just staying busy. And, I mean, he's probably had the best year out of any fighter this year, money wise. I mean, he picked up another belt, picked up 3 belts from Triple G, whatever. So he's had a really good year, in the sport, despite how you might feel about him. But, you do got to kind of think about that, man. It does factor in that, you did a lot of great things this year, picked up belts, signed a monster deal, but you did get popped this year. So, that's something I really had forgot to factor in. You would think that I would have factored that in, off the top, being not a fan, but I really didn't because, what he's done, throughout the rest of the year is kind of overshadowed that. But, let us not let that overshadow something as important as being a clean athlete. Yeah. So but like I said, overall he's probably had the best year ever out of any fighter, to be honest. I mean, once you look at all the time, he picked up the biggest check. He picked up 4 or 5 belts this year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nobody else really did it like that. And he like solidified his self for the next couple years with top notch fights. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
he really did a lot.
You know, and like I was thinking too, like, you know, whether or not he takes them or not, you know, takes the big fights or not, he has like 2019 in his hands.
Yeah.
Once you think about it. But I put Danny Jacobs right next to him because I felt like when we were doing the middleweight tournament, I felt like these were the two guys. I had to give it to both because they were the only two. I won't say the only two, but they were the top two that kind of answer questions for us. Mm-hmm. You know, Demetrius Andrade, he did win his belt, you know, but I feel like he still got some things to, you know, prove at 160 for us. Yeah. But, you know, Danny Jacobs, you know, beating 2 undefeated fighters this year, you know, continuing his undefeated fighter streak. He picked up the belt after beating Derevchenko. And, you know, also jumping over here with Eddie Hearn, having that deal. He's also put himself in that, you know, mix where I can get a, you know, Andrade, I can get a Canelo fight, which it looks like he might be getting a Canelo fight.
And I like Danny was like the first one to do that. When Danny went to the zone, people were saying, why are you from New York or from the States and you're signing to Eddie Hearn? And I told you from day one, I said, that's a power move. I mean, he's just opened up his monopoly board. He can fight anybody with that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see how people saw it as a bad thing, but he was one of the first guys to sign on to the zone before the hype train and the soup train or whatever got behind it.
Yeah, even before Canelo.
Before Canelo. Yeah, way before Canelo.
Still on
He's been in there probably 2 years now, a year or two.
Yeah, because, you know, after he did his other fight with HBO, he was like, you know, I'm going to get over here with Eddie, you know, and see how things work out. Because he, at that point, when he was asked about it, he was like, I want to be a star. You know, he was like, I want to be a star, and this is how I can put myself in that position for these fights.
Absolutely.
And that's what we got for 2019
Absolutely.
for him. So, you know, again, respect to Danny, man. He always be doing his thing. You know, a lot of people don't give him credit because, you know, he don't talk a lot.
Right.
But, you know, like he said, he touching M's. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a whole lot to talk about when you're a fighter. You know what I'm saying?
For real, man. But I'll let you go on with your next one, Pete. You got
another guy. Like I said, you know, we're going at this from a different angle. We're not necessarily going for fan favorites. We're just really going, you know, by the stats, you know, the variables, the things that, you know, we're judging these guys by. So, you know, with that being said, I have to put Tyson Fury in the mix for a few different reasons. You know, the top of 2018, I mean, Tyson Fury probably was pushing 400 pounds. He was totally out of shape. Mentally, we didn't know where he was at. He said he had mental health issues. I didn't realize it was that bad. We didn't know whether or not we would ever see him in the ring again at the top of 2018. So to do what he's done, I mean, to get into fighting shape, you know, lose the weight that he lost. I mean, you got to realize, I mean, I don't think this guy was broke. I don't think this guy was like, yo, I need the money. You know what I'm saying? It was more of a motivation thing. He said Deontay Wilder motivated him. You know what I'm saying? By calling him out, you know what I'm saying? Saying like, yo, you're done. And he said that motivated him. But whatever it took, you know, we got to acknowledge that, because that's not easy for a guy to do that when you got money. You know what I'm saying? You're not hungry necessarily.
Right.
You know, to get back into fighting shape and then come around full circle and face a guy that nobody thought you stood a chance against.
Right.
And to put on a very good performance against him. So I have to mention him, you know, give him an honorable mention. I mean, like I said, I'm not the biggest Tyson Fury fan, but I do, you know, respect what he's done this year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and like I said, this is not about winning the fight. It's about the mental battle, like you say. And I mean, it's a lot of, like they say, boxing is 90% mental. So just showing that mental fortitude to lose that type of weight. That's what I'm saying. And I mean, it's not easy to lose weight. He's a big guy. I mean, he didn't get down to
anybody
fit and trim. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if you had saw him the way he was
before that, exactly
the way he came down, you have to give him his props. I mean, for a guy who didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because anybody could have just got in the ring to collect, you know, but actually getting down to fighting shape.
Yeah, fighting shape.
You know, that was probably the biggest part. Because, you know, like I said, I always be knocking the fights he had. But if anything, to me, the the transition he made with his body was bigger than any fight
Absolutely.
that he had, you know, like as far as his tune-ups. When I saw what he did with his body, I was like, that was more impressive.
That was a bigger fight than some of the tune-up fights that he had. You know what I mean? Because we know obesity and people battling. That's a everyday struggle if you're battling with that. You know what I mean? We small guys, we don't really understand, but. You know, and think like we talking about a guy who can eat anything he want. I mean, he can have a chef. You know what I mean? He got access to gaining weight. You know what I mean? Easily. Right. So, but he bit down and did what he had to do, and came full circle. And come fight night, he was able to perform, and that's not an easy feat to accomplish physically or mentally. So, definitely have to. Give him a nod for that, ain't nothing else. You know what I'm saying?
Got you. Okay. Moving on here. For my number 3, I had to pick Clarissa Shields, man. I definitely had to pick Clarissa Shields. I mean, hers is almost like, surprisingly for me, hers is like the easiest reason to say why. Because
absolutely.
Everything she was doing in 8 fights this year was just like highlight after highlight after highlight. I know a lot of people won't see it that way because she's a woman fighter, but for me, the moves she was making this year was the moves a lot of the men needed to be making. I'll get to the business in a minute, but like, first off, she won 2 world titles in middleweight last year. She defended those titles this year, and then her 3rd fight this year was she was, like I said, she was already a middleweight champion, but then she won two more titles in her 2nd fight at middleweight. Then in her 3rd fight this year, she won the titles at 168. And then she was defending it in her 4th fight. So she picked up 4 fights, became a unified champion in those 4 fights, at 8-0. And then of course this year she won that WBAA 2018 Fighter of the Year award.
Yeah.
So they definitely been putting her on notice with that too. But also, man, just looking like I said, the moves she's been making. First couple fights this year, she was on Showtime. Then after that, she was on DAZN. She was on the card with Eddie Hearn, 1 fight deal. Just to put herself out there.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, she's closing on HBO's last card. So like I said, she's just making moves to make people say, why are these other fighters doing this?
Absolutely.
Showtime,
Absolutely.
HBO, DAZN. It's it's possible.
When you want it, you know what I mean. But yeah, definitely, and super big shout out to Clarissa Shields. For a lot of reasons, man, for what she's out here doing in the game. But she's a regular visitor on our Instagram page. It's nothing to get a like or a comment from her, so we definitely appreciate that. And but for me, Aunt, I'm not the diehard woman fighter fan, but I called Aunt up one day. I said, hey Aunt, I had no idea, Clarissa Shields had accomplished all this in this amount of fights. He like, yeah, man. I said, wow, I'm really, really impressed because a lot of these guys out here could take a page out of her book right now. It's not a whole lot of posturing, talking trash. She doing whatever she has to do to stay busy, and not only stay busy, but constantly elevate at the same time. She's definitely the epitome of a true champion inside the ring and outside right now. And I definitely got a lot of respect for her. And I definitely think she really made some power moves this year. And like I always say, Aunt, too, it's a lot of things, personality, whenever I see her on Instagram or whatever, or anywhere in public, everybody loves her. She seems like she's really down to earth, just a humble person. So, shout out to Clarissa Shields, man. Keep doing what you're doing, and we appreciate, you chiming in here and there and showing us some love. Definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Because like I said, like once you look at what she's doing, I think when I put it out there like that, those stats. Like I said, world champion in 2 different weight classes and 8-0. That makes a lot of fighters of all male or female. To say we got to step our game up. You know, we definitely got to step our game up.
We got to step. I had no idea. I was like, what? He said, yeah, man. I mean, yeah, she done all that and X amount of fights. It blew my mind because, I mean, you don't hear anything. The guys, you hear them posturing this and that, getting popped, this DU, you know, locked us, a whole bunch of commotion with the guys, you know what I mean?
Right.
Here, this sister is over here below the radar, but making power moves in the game, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, I ain't got nothing but respect for Miss Shields over there doing her thing.
Yeah, man, and what this gonna lead to, you know, the fight that I want to see, you know, hopefully if it happens next year, these big moves, like I said, she making, hopefully it leads to that Hammer fight, that Regina Hammer fight, because you know Regina Hammer had to pull out of boxing for a little bit because of an illness, but hopefully, you know, this fight might come to fruition in like March or sometime this year, because you know, like I said, Clarissa, she ain't dugging nobody right now.
Yeah.
She been calling her out, she been calling somebody out, but until then, you know, she just been staying busy, man. So again, shout out to her, man. But who you got next on your list, bro?
My last person that is and it, like I said, we went and looked for different things to acknowledge people on. So this one, it wasn't necessarily because of the fights he had this year, but it's just of what he's done this year as a business move. I want to say Devin Haney. You know what I'm saying? He stayed busy this year. I think he fought 2 or 3 times, something like that. But he also went and got his promoter's license and became the youngest boxing promoter in boxing history at 19, which I think is super, super dope that a kid that young is taking his future into his own hands like that. You know, it's not too many guys out here. There's no other guy at 19 that's fighting on his own promotion label. So I really thought that was a power move, and it's an eye opener and a game changer for the next generation to let them see how to do this. You know what I mean? You don't have to sign your life away. You know what I mean? You could take your time. And when you know you the goods, you can do things like that. Now, when you're not sure of yourself, then you might have to sign over here, sign over there. But Devin Haney has been in the game, being moved the right exact way. And, you know, he's his own boss.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. You're the fighter. You know what I mean? Nobody else should be above the fighter.
I've always felt that way too, man. That's why I had to say he was definitely like my honorable mention too, because I've been watching him since he you know, put his debuts online. You know, he was putting them on YouTube, you know, back in 2015. And that was a crazy move because it was like all you saw on these fights was his name. You know, he had like his team, you know, saying DevinHaney.com, DevinHaney.com. So it was just like, this is all he wants you to know. You know, nobody's pushing him. Nobody's promoting him. He's promoting himself. And then he's putting his actual professional debut on YouTube. Next thing you know, he's putting his 3rd, 4th, 5th fight on there. So it's just letting you know that he's grinding for himself. And a lot of fighters today, they can follow this and say, sooner or later, you know, maybe in like the next 5, 6 years, you're going to see more fighters making these same moves.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, if I want to get here, or me and this dude want to make a fight, we don't have to have that middleman no more. You know, it's just me and you. So from there, it'll be no more excuses. You know, a lot of guys can make fights. But this year, again, too, with his promotion, it's just like, from here, he's on Showtime now, Showbox.
All right.
And he's already talking about, I want to graduate from Showbox to, you know, maybe, you know, becoming a main events on Showtime, you know, regular cards, you know. So he's already in that mind frame where I can call those shots, you know, pretty soon. You know, I'm going to be calling those shots and saying, you know, when I can be here, when I could be a main event, who's going to be on my undercards. And
that's the thing, at 19, being able to see that big picture that far down the road is amazing. And like I said, he will open the eyes of, you know, younger fighters to come. But what they must realize is it's not as easy as he made it look. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Devin Haney is a anomaly in the game. It's not going to happen. You know, it would not be that easy to do what he's done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, everything just worked out just perfect for him. But what it will do is put them on the game at to say, when I want to fight this guy and this guy wants to fight me, it's not all this red tape in between us no more. You know what I'm saying? It's letting guys see how to take control of their career.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think one of those, the thing that a lot of young guys, they need to take from that is that it's not easy, because we see he's putting in a lot of hard work. You know, he makes it look easy, but it's hard. The same with going back to Shields, you know, in this amount of fights, 8-0, yeah, it seemed easy, like she became a 2-division world champion in this many fights, but it was hard work getting there. Just like with Haney, him being his own boss right now at this age, it's like, okay, it looked easy. You know, I'm 19, maybe I could do the same thing, but no, it's not. You got to put in the same amount of work that he's putting. You know, and that's all you got to do. I mean, if you're that hard of a worker of a fighter, man, you could do that. If you're that tired of having somebody tell you when and when you can't fight, or who you can and can't fight, you know, you got to do moves like he doing, man. So yeah, definitely, man. Shout out to Devin Haney, man. I got Jared Swift Hurd, man. Now I know he didn't fight a whole bunch of times. You know, it ain't all about activity, but it was all about questions answered. And I feel like his one fight to me that really answered that question, like who the best in the junior middleweight division is his unification fight with Erislandy Lara. You know, there's a lot of people that say, you know, Jared Hurd, you know, he gets hit a lot, you know, he just keeps coming forward. But Jared Hurd, he has that consistent pressure. You know, he applies that consistent pressure, and he has that determination and motivation to, you know, to keep pressing on in the fight, man. And I feel like that's what really helped him win that Erislandy Lara fight. Because, like I said, Lara, he's a guy that can make a lot of guys look bad. Lara, he's a fighter that a lot of junior middleweights duck, you know. And like I said in the past, I felt, you know, Lara, he did enough to beat Canelo in that fight. But Jared Hurd, he stuck to his guns and his game plan in this fight. You know, he said, I'll take this fight. And, you know, he took it to him. I mean, it was a lot of back and forth action. There was a lot of back and forth rounds here, but like I said, Jared Hurd, he stayed more consistent, and he was able to make this a solid win for him, man. This one win, like I said, after this fight, you know, he had to have shoulder surgery, but you know, he still kept speaking, you know, saying that I do want the Charlo fight, you know, that I do want to be the undisputed champion. And, you know, like he said, that he's definitely the guy that should be able to make that call, because, you know, he's got 2 of the belts and he feels like he is number 1. And I've always felt, even before, you know, the upset last week with Charlo and Harrison, I always felt that Hurd was a number 1 guy. Yeah. You know, just off the moves he was making, you know, like I said, unification, not ducking, you know, just going for anybody that wants it. And
like you say, that's the difference. Like a guy like Jared Hurd, grew on me, and he really grew on me over this last year. You know, everybody said, well, like you say, he gets hit a lot. That's his style. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a different style. Manny Pacquiao got hit a lot. A lot of fighters get hit a lot. You know, every fighter is not a defensive whiz, or every fighter is not a tactician, you know, but Jared Hurd, what we've been seeing in him is he knows how to win. He gets hit a lot. He starts slow, but he knows how to win. He finds a way to win. And, you know, him taking a guy like Lara, most guys in his position wouldn't face a guy like Lara, because you could lose or you could be made to look bad. You know, he took a guy like Lara, like, yo, I'm trying to prove that I'm the best. I gotta pass these tests. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He went out there and faced a guy, you know, like Lara, and he got the W. And I thought that really kind of solidified his character, his heart. Like, yo, win, lose, or draw, I'm not worried about being undefeated and all the stuff that other people are worried about. I'm worried about being the best. And if taking a loss, you know, comes between me and being the best, then so be it. You know, it's a lot of guys out here that are worried about being undefeated, and I don't see that in Jared Hurd. I see a really rugged guy in Jared Hurd, and a guy who is really serious about, you know, his legacy. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing, Ant. He says, I want to unify. Okay, we see him, the level of competition stepping up kind of every time. I don't really see that with other guys who claim they may want to unify, or, you know, a guy who might be in position to unify. You know what I'm saying? Everything to me that Jared Hurd is doing is a step in the right direction to unify. You know what I'm saying? And now the ball is in his court. You know, he's got 2 belts. He's the man. You know, Jamel lost his belt, you know, for whatever reason, but the ball is in his court now. And it's just like, that's how it is. And, you know, everything works out the way it's supposed to be. So all the smoke is settled. In 2019, Jared Hurd is starting off the top of the year, the man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
and going back to his one significant fight that really decided that for me was because, you know, first of all, you know, in boxing I always go with quality over quantity. You know, he could have fought 3-4 tomato cans at 154, but that really wouldn't have solidified his position for me today. Him beating Lara, him being able to make that power move and fight somebody like Lara, like a lot of guys won't fight, you know, that says a lot about a guy too, you know. And then when you come out on top the way he did, you know, you can't help but give him that number 1 spot at 154, you know. Absolutely. So in any division, you know, if you're the guy that wants to face these 1 or 2 guys versus maybe 3 or 4 tomato cans, or as long as you facing these guys that have some type of significance and that's going to answer some questions, that's how you advance in the game. And I feel like, yeah, since that fight, he was the number 1 guy, and Jamel at the time was number 2. But now, you know, moving forward, he can fight anybody in 2019. You know what I mean? Like, he could fight Tony Harrison in a rematch, you know, or he could wait for Jamel Charlo and Harrison their rematch, or he could move on, man. Shoot, he could fight Mongia. He could move up to 160, you know. You know, right now he can make the move. So definitely, again, shout out to Jared Swift Hurd, man. But you said that other fight was your last one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more, man. This is my number 1. I did stick with the number 1 on this one, but a lot of people might get mad, but I had to pick Deontay Wilder, man. And for one reason too, man, it's like the heavyweight division, man. It's the biggest division, man, and the moves he made were very, very big, at the same time dangerous last year. His one fight on March 3rd against Luis Ortiz, that was bigger than a lot of other fighters, AJ, any of these other guys heavyweight could make, because he was fighting the one guy that a lot of these other guys are avoiding, and that was King Kong Ortiz. On top of that, King Kong, he had got popped earlier that year, but he was still like, okay, you know, I'll take him. I'll fight him. And he did that, man. And the fight really wasn't going in his favor, but he stayed in it. He stayed in it to win it. And he got it the way he always do. You know, he got it by a devastating knockout. Right after that, you know, he was trying to get the AJ fight again, but, you know, that wasn't happening. So much bigger. And so Tyson Fury comes out of left field, you know, wins his tune-up fights and says, you know, I'll take on Deontay Wilder. And what Wilder say? He ain't, you know, go on social media, going back and forth, saying, oh, talk to my manager. He was like, hey, we can make this fight happen in December right after you win your tune-up. And that's what happened. And going into that fight, I know that the result wasn't what I wanted, and, you know, it wasn't what a lot of fans wanted. They felt Tyson Fury won, but like I said, I felt the draw was fair. But a lot of people don't understand Deontay Wilder. If he was getting outboxed like that, there would have been a lot of fighters who would have quit. Mm-hmm. If they couldn't have found a way to win, they would have quit. But he stayed in it all the way to the end. Whether or not you feel like he was winning or losing, he stayed all the way to the end and almost knocked Tyson Fury out. You know, so I feel like those two fights right there against the biggest, most dangerous heavyweights right there really solidify who he is as a fighter and what's to come for him next year, you know, which is more than likely a Tyson Fury rematch. But again, you got to look at it. Like I said, this is the most significant division. Everybody got their eyes on heavyweight, you know. Mm-hmm. So what he did against the best out there just makes me take my hat off to him.
And I had to agree with you on that. And you know, Deontay Wilder is what, 41-40 right now. Mm-hmm. 41 knockouts and 41 fights. A lot of people still try to discredit his record, saying that,
Oh, I'm sorry, 40 and 0. 40 and 0.
40 and 0.
Knockouts.
39 knockouts. So, a lot of people still want to discredit, a man that has 40 fights with 39 knockouts, which is unheard of. You know what I mean? It's a 99.9% knockout rate or whatever.
Right.
A lot of people say that he didn't fit, tomato cans. He was fighting cab drivers, all this stuff or whatever. But this year he showed that I'm willing to face anybody and not just say it. You know what I mean? And first he did that with, Luis Ortiz, which a lot of guys, which is a dangerous guy. First off, a lot of guys didn't want to face him. He has a very dangerous style, and he's just a dangerous guy. You know what I mean? But then he was popped, which made him extra dirty. I mean, extra dangerous. You know what I'm saying? So, despite that, Deontay Wilder still said, "Yo, I have to fight this guy because I need these names on my resume." You know what I'm saying? If he dirty or not. So he supposed to got cleaned up, and Deontay Wilder agreed to the fight, which I thought was big because the champ don't have to agree to a fight after the person tested dirty and he messed that up. You messed that opportunity up. You know what I mean? But I thought it was big for Deontay Wilder to say, "Yo, all right, I'm gonna give you a second chance and take on this fight," because he could have just let the door close right there and escaped this bullet. You know what I'm saying? But like, yo, he was dirty. That's that. But he went back for them, which was a tough fight. Answered some questions for, some people about his chin and different things about Wilder, and he still came out on top. You know what I'm saying? And then, to follow that up, I mean, and we all know he wanted the AJ fight, but he couldn't, he couldn't trap AJ this year or whatever and make it happen. So he fought the next best thing smoking, which was Tyson Fury. And, I don't know, I don't know how many people would have been willing to fight Tyson Fury before, him and Wilder fought, you know what I mean? Because like now I know Tyson Fury's stock has went up. I don't know how, many people avoided him before that, because they might have felt like he was washed up and felt like, yo, anybody will fight him. But the person who did it was Deontay Wilder. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And Tyson Fury, and that's another reason you got to give them a lot of respect, and for, two guys busting through the paperwork and making this fight happen. You know what I'm saying? Because that's like the thing at the end of the day. It's a lot of great fights out here to be made, but will the two fighters get through all the bullshit and make it happen? We don't know. So, shout out to Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder for, a great fight and for all the other things they accomplished throughout the year, but mainly for just putting the bullshit aside and getting in the ring and fighting, which fighters are supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely Deontay Wilder,
Yeah, definitely, man. And I feel like off of that one performance, it definitely opened doors for both of them, and especially for Wilder. I feel like it definitely put his name out there now. A lot of people didn't know him before, but after seeing what he possessed, even if they feel like he was losing, they still want to see what's going to happen in this rematch. And he definitely opened doors for a big 2019, man. So yeah, again, shout out to WBC champion Deontay Wilder, man. But yeah, man, like we said, these were like 5 fighters, a little bit more than 5 fighters for me that I feel like were really making a statement, and they're guys and girls that I'm looking out for in 2019. What about you, P?
Yeah, basically the same thing. I mean, there's no way we can get every single fighter this year, but we just dredged through and grabbed out a handful that really caught our eye and that we wanted to showcase on our and show or whatever. And it's it's a whole lot of more guys that did great things this year, but we just don't have the time and to run everything down. So we just wanted to pick like the cream of the crop, the ones that really, really stood out to us, you know what I mean? And that don't mean the other fighters didn't stand out to us, those other great fighters this year, Terrence Crawford, Earl Spence, Manny Pacquiao had a good year. There's a whole bunch of other guys that had a good year too, but we just wanted to really grab the ones that really, really caught our eye, whether they were major stars or stars on the rise.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. Just there's certain guys, that their names and what they do is already kind of a given, and they just have to go through the motions just a little bit. But there's other fighters that we felt made power moves, and other guys that had to work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Power move being like Danny Jacobs, Canelo, and then other guys just working really, really hard to get it, like a Hurd or a Shields. So. Yeah, man, I'm just, like I said, looking forward to these fighters, what they're going to do next year. Something just popped in my head. What was a one fight or one knockout that stood out to you in 2018? Was there one for you, man? Because it just popped in my head.
Yeah.
One did, man.
Yeah, it's one fight that stood out for me this year.
What was that?
And a matter of fact, it's never happened in history before. But this year will always be remembered for what this kid did. I don't even really have the names exactly, but the heavyweight match when the guy walked out the ring, and I mean, come on, I mean that hands down. Hands down, that was the craziest stuff we saw this year.
I remember I saw that. I posted on Facebook. I was just like, after I saw it, I was just like, this is embarrassing. I don't want to remember anymore. But that was probably like the worst stoppage or worst quit in the history of boxing. I mean, there maybe been a few guys that done that before. Which is worse, you not coming out of the dressing room or walking out of the ring, man?
I mean, the dude what he did at go touch gloves, and when the bell rings, step out the ropes, dude. Like I say, in history, I don't, like you say, guys have got cold feet and all that, but to do what he did, you know what I'm saying? That was about the craziest thing this year, dude. Yeah,
that was the craziest.
I mean, for me, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, for, it's all types of ways to look at stuff, but that was like, that had me like, yo. That was it. That was bigger than the knockout to me, for because that was just it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, when I first saw it on myself, I was like, where's he going? And he just walked casually, he sauntered out, went around about the stage, and he was gone, man. People were still wondering, what he was going to do. Like, did he forget something? But then they was just like, nah, he ain't coming back. That was it.
Even his corner was looking puzzled, like, you know what I mean. It was a crazy night in boxing, and
very. I don't want to see any more of those. But I think as far as like a knockout, a real knockout that just stood out for me was Eleider Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev. Man, oh, yeah. I just felt that was the one knockout that kind of put Eleider Alvarez on the map, because a lot of people didn't think he was going to win, but some had him trailing in the cars, and it was just a kind of a it was still a dominant knockout for him because he wasn't going anywhere. And I just felt like, that was that one that answered questions on where he stood in the game and kind of where Kovalev is at. So yeah, definitely shout out to Eleider Alvarez, because, I was looking at the other day, and I felt like that was probably one of the top light heavyweight knockouts this year, man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, before we bounce, man, what's the one fight you want in 2019, man, that happened?
The one fight that I want in 2019, you mean fight that don't look like it's gonna happen, or
yeah, the one that they haven't like come close to making, but it
okay,
it should be able to make it.
The most intriguing fight in 2019 to me would be I'm gonna say the Danny Jacobs and the Canelo, because we haven't seen them two together yet. I do want my boy Triple G to get that third one in, because I still feel like it's unfinished business, but the Danny Jacobs and Canelo would be a little bit more juicier because we never seen them dance together yet. So 2019 for me, that would kind of be the icing on the cake for me if Canelo would get in there with Jacobs.
Okay. Granted, if everything goes okay in February, I'm gonna have to say by the end of next year, or maybe around the summertime, I want Tank Lomachenko. If he thrashes Abner Mares like I think he will, or he might, and if maybe Lomachenko fights one more time sometime this year, first quarter, they could make it happen sometime, maybe the end of next year, or maybe in the summer of next year. So I'm kind of hoping that fight can be made. I mean, I know Tevin Farmer's kind of been throwing his self out there a lot, because like I said, I did want Tevin versus Tank, but the more and more Loma's kind of been putting himself out there, like he's the best, and Tank, he trying to get back on this road. He's a young, hungry kid too. I just been wanting to see that matchup. Sometimes there's just styles that you just want to see match up.
Mm-hmm.
We know there's fights that should happen because these are answer questions, but there's just explosive fights too, man, that answer questions. And I think this one's going to be more explosive, man. Tank versus Loma.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, Tank and Tevin Farmer has history. That's going to be a good fight. But this fight is like a super fight at a smaller weight. And you know what I'm saying? This fight.
And it's one of those lower weights where it's going to end in a knockout.
Yeah. Like the winner of this fight really gets thrust up there. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you, man. I'm that's another juicy one. You know what I'm saying? And of course, I want to see the Tyson Fury and what's the name rematch. You know what I mean? You got to have that this year or whatever. But that Loma and Tank, that's definitely a go right there. Yeah,
man. Early prediction, Tank by knockout. But anyway, yeah, man. Throw that out there. But yeah, man. I hope 2019, does turn into a good year as far as the matches we need in this game. I feel like there's still some questions that need to be answered at 160. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered at welterweight. Everybody in the top, that top tier at welterweight, they're fighting, but they're not fighting each other, man. Mm-hmm. Everybody got to fight, but they ain't fighting each other. The latest out there is that Crawford, he is fighting Amir Khan next year, but like we said, man, Errol Spence, he's fighting Mikey Garcia, and I think he gonna thrash them ribs, man. So we'll see how that go, man. But yeah, man, we want to close out this year with y'all one more time, one more episode. And, before in my closing thoughts, I just say, shout out to everybody that's been riding with us, with the podcast. We doing this another year, man. Still trying to make these moves, talk this all boxing, everything like we do. And, shout out to, listeners, shout out to my man Nas, Donnie, Junior, all the people that came through. Help us out with this movement, man.
Yeah. I pretty much just want to reiterate everything my man Combo Breaker 99 said over there. Shout out to everybody that been, rocking with us. And like I said, we still here. We still live. We still motivated. And we look forward to just, bringing y'all some more, passionate stuff next year. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's the best. It's passionate though. It's coming from the heart. It's real. We're not faking. It's the best. All right, it's the best.
Yeah, it's the best.
You know what I'm saying? But it's definitely real. We're not faking. We not scripting. This is how we really feel when this is. You see the passion and the commitment behind what we doing. So just keep supporting y'all.
Yeah, man. Hopefully, like I said, we got the big year coming up. Hope we get do bigger and better things. Make sure y'all subscribe, to help us get bigger on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Follow us like y'all been following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Jab Effect. Yeah, man. Hope we get some more interviews next year too. You know.
Yeah. Oh, that's coming. Yeah, that's
That's
stuff.
big things for y'all.
We trapping that. We gonna trap him, back him in the corner.
Exactly.
You know, I got no choice.
For real, man. But yeah. Before I bounce, man, my name is Combo Breaker 99.
It's your boy Boxing P, y'all.
And we'll see y'all in the new year. Peace.
Later.